Hey, so I had intentions of creating a video for this topic, but I figured maybe me just talking would be the best way to get my point across. To get started, let me ask you a question. What is the most sought after and loved possession by human beings? It's money, right? That's a pretty easy answer. Money is what makes the world go round. It's the driving force behind our will to work and succeed. People put forth major effort to spend the money they make in a controlled fashion and save as much of it as they possibly can. There's something about a low price on products that we buy that appeals to us. And in some cases, it may be best to go with the lowest price option on whatever it is that you need. However, this shouldn't be the case when it comes to your prescription drugs. When it comes to medication, it makes sense that one should want the best product they can get at the best cost. The key in that sentence, however, should be best product, not best cost. It seems that some Americans nowadays aren't worried about the origin or quality of the drugs they take, so long as they're cheap and supposedly the same drug they've been prescribed. This type of thinking has aided in the growth of our counterfeit drug problem here in the United States. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, counterfeit drugs, or fake drugs, are made using the wrong or even harmful ingredients. They are then packaged and labeled to look like the brand name or generic drugs you see every day. The CDC article goes on to state the most common places counterfeit drugs are sold are in developing countries around the world, while industrialized countries, such as the United States, have found that less than 1% of medicine being sold is counterfeit. So in other words, a person's best bet is to buy their medication in the U.S. to ensure maximum safety and effectiveness of the drug being used. According to CNN, around 40% of generic and over-the-counter drugs sold in the United States are produced in India. While pharmaceutical companies here may own these manufacturing plants, they still strive for the cheapest labor to produce their drugs in order to maintain a low retail price. The quality of drugs produced in these manufacturing plants are questionable, as CNN reported multiple were under investigation for poor working conditions. 60 Minutes did a feature on counterfeit drugs in 2011 I found rather interesting. Take a look.
Counterfeit medications are not just being sold on the internet. They are also making their way into mainstream pharmacies and hospitals. FDA Commissioner Margaret Hamburg says that while the vast majority of our drug supply is safe, there's reason for concern.
We don't really know the full dimensions of the problem, but we do know that in certain countries, somewhere between 30 and 50% of really important drugs for health are in fact counterfeit.
How does all this increase in counterfeit drugs around the world affect the United States?
Just consider that 40% of drugs taken in this country come from other countries. 80% of the active pharmaceutical ingredients in drugs taken in this country actually comes from other countries.
So even in the U.S., you could still be at risk for purchasing counterfeit drugs. Here's another clip with a few tips on what you can do to be safer with your prescriptions.
Deadly.
Here to share some of the details of this illegal world of counterfeit drugs is Pfizer Chief Global Security Officer John Clark. And your security team does a lot to try to prevent these from getting in the hands of consumers.
We absolutely do. In the United States, we have former FBI agents and former executives and agents from the Department of Homeland Security like myself. We work with law enforcement around the world and assist them in taking down the counterfeiting organizations.
Well, it's a true threat. We even have, I think, some footage here of a drug bust going on.
Yes. So a drug bust in South America. This was a manufacturing facility. Now you see there is boric acid, which is an insecticide, kills cockroaches, but was being used in this facility to manufacture as an ingredient. And this is the awfully filthy pill press, which is not uncommon in a manufacturing center that's illegal, where they were making the pills.
If that video didn't get you, take a look at this. These are some of the things we have found in counterfeit medicines. Brick dust and other poisonous substances, lead paint, for example. And another thing, counterfeiters often use sheetrock dust in order to press the pills and hold them together.
None of these, of course, are good for your health, which is, of course, why you try to bust these before they reach the hand of the consumer.
Absolutely. And one ingredient not up there is actually floor wax, which the counterfeiters will actually use as the last stage of the manufacture to put a sheen on a pill to make it really look authentic. They don't have to worry about FDA oversight or good manufacturing practices. They have no concern about the health consequences of the counterfeits. It's really to fool the patient and get their money.
And in contrast, this is what it should look like with good practices and FDA oversight. And as you see, this is a sterile environment. The employees had headdresses, gloves, and sterile clothing on. So this is how you want it done.
Now, counterfeit medicines have been found in up to 120 different countries. Pfizer, working with law enforcement, has been able to prevent over 171 million counterfeit dosages from reaching our patients.
What are some tips in terms of buying online, using online pharmacies?
If you go online to purchase a prescription medicine and the site says you don't need a prescription, go to another site. A lot of them have logos that'll say this has been certified by such and such of an agency. Logos can be counterfeited, so they're not absolutely a guarantee that the site is authentic. One other red flag or point to consider, if you're looking at a site that's suspicious and you're not quite certain you want to buy the medicine, think also about if you're giving them your credit card information, because you could easily be buying counterfeit medicines and having your ID stolen at the same time.
So if you're using an online pharmacy, how do you verify that it's legit?
When you receive your prescription, you should check both the package and the product. And the things you want to check for are color, texture, smell, and you want to take a look at the package and see if there's any evidence of tampering. And if it seems different or suspicious or odd to you, you should notify either your pharmacist, the manufacturer of the medicine, or the FDA MedWatch program.
So for the safety and wellness of my own self, I can say that I will always buy my prescription drugs, or drugs of any kind for that matter, inside the U.S. from a licensed in-store pharmacy, regardless of the price difference. This isn't to say all drugs bought outside the U.S. are counterfeit. This is to say to be cautious when you're filling your prescriptions. My advice to anyone would be to take your prescriptions with you when you're leaving the country, and to use a pharmacy that you can trust, regardless of price differences. I don't know about everyone else, but for me, a few extra dollars is worth the reassurance and the safety of myself and those that I care about.